After we kill the Crystal Sage, we are met with a short running section to the upcoming area, the Cathedral of the Deep. The Cathedral of the Deep is probably one of the most advanced running areas in the entire game, and we're going to be going into high depth when we get there. However, we are going to drop down into this little alcove space, I guess you could call it, and we're going to aggro this Sage with a firebomb. And now what we're visually looking for here is the Sage to do a long-ranged attack with her spell book. Whenever we see her spell book get picked up with her offhand, we're going to jump down and run by her. There's a chance that she can idle momentarily, so like I said, we're visually looking for the book to be raised. She did it immediately this time, but like I said, there is a chance she can idle, and we're simply just going to run by her on the side there. Very, very consistent strat here. Continuing into the cathedral approach, we're met with a staircase, followed by another staircase with an NPC guarding a narrow hallway. We're going to use a skull to negate this enemy from attacking us. The visual cue I like to go for is when my character reaches this tree, and I like to throw my skull at this tree in this direction, allowing us a safe run by this enemy. This enemy also has a weapon art attack that can stagger you if you are too close beside him when he triggers it. So even though he is looking at the skull, be wary that that can happen. After passing the NPC on the staircase, we are met with one of the most formidable running sections of the entire game. This area is littered with dogs, NPCs with crossbows up at the top up here, and we need to know and expect every line of sight and cover every line of sight so that we do not get any stray bolts while we do the strat that we need to get through this area. The strategy that we're going to implement to get through this area starts with us running a very particular path up along the left side in between these trees. While we're going to have a black firebomb equipped, we are going to then lock on to this dog beside this tree right in front of us here, dead center of the camera. My cue to throw the bomb is right before my character's feet reach this patch of bush on the ground. And the way that throwing items works in Dark Souls 3 is when you start the animation to throw an item, you can actually still finesse and fine-tune your character's movement a bit. So what you're going to do is start the throw back before your character reaches this bush while you're locked onto the dog, and while your animation is taking place, you're going to keep moving forward and up and to the right so that the bomb hits this dog without the dog aggroing too early. Now, after this bomb hits this dog is going to die. However, we're simultaneously going to be using this tree right here to guard a crossbow in the back from this mob in the back here. So once you throw this bomb, it's very important to turn your camera around and ensure that this tree is line of sight blocking that enemy in the back. While it's blocking that enemy, you simply just want to walk towards the camera down this path right here. And doing so will also dodge this guy's crossbow bolt right here. So we're going to go ahead and take a look and see what all this looks like in real time. I know that's a lot of information just to throw at you guys. So let's take a look and see what this looks like. So we're going to ensure that we have our alluring skull ready, as well as our black firebomb. Right as we hit the tree, we throw our skull towards the other tree. We run up the right. Be very careful of not getting hit by that attack. Take our path through the tree while having our black firebomb ready. Again, we're going to throw, lock, up and to the right with finesse movement, all while making sure that cross bolt is being blocked by that tree. Very important. Now, once you reach here, I would also like to point out, do not sprint. Always walk during this section. It's a very, very important little bit of information, because sprinting will cause enemies to hear you. So once we've reached this section, all you're simply going to do is keep on walking very, very slowly, and these guys up here aren't going to hear you as long as you're walking. You can also pull out your straight sword for this part to make your walking easier. Will also work, and we're going to walk right by those dogs. Mind you, there is an enemy in the very, very back that is still active. You can see his crossbolt is hitting a tree right now, actually. He just gave up. But it's mindful to watch It's very unlikely that that enemy would be able to finesse a shot through all the trees and stuff and hit us while we're walking there, but it is something to be mindful of. Once we get a little further up this path and there is a line of sight blocking from the dog, you're free to hold a jog a bit more and continue to the cathedral. Very important just to keep running past this enemy. He won't catch you as long as you keep moving. At this point, you can go through the front door here to the cathedral to light a bonfire, go back to shrine if you choose so. For this routing, we do not need to actually open that door whatsoever, so we're just going to continue on here. There's not too much at the start of this running section. We're simply just going to manage our stamina. Be wary of these zombies right here. They can throw stray punches, but as long as you keep moving, you shouldn't see anything go wrong here. We're going to take a right. We're going to drop down. And we're going to progress to the cathedral here. And this is where things start to get a bit more spicy. Proceeding up into the cathedral, we are going to be met on a bridge by the AI pathing of this enemy here. Now, this enemy here is going to attack us across said bridge, but you can simply sprint by him on your right, and you will dodge every single attack that he can possibly give you. We're then going to proceed up this stairs to the plateau right here. And you guys can see here, if we manage our stamina, we're met with the enemy, we sprint by on the right. Does not matter which attack he does, I promise you, all of them will be missed. After passing the worm enemy on the bridge and coming up to this plateau, we are met in a courtyard with some wandering hollows. But the more important enemy here is our first encounter with a Grave Warden. When we get a certain distance, this Grave Warden is going to start walking down this staircase. The Grave Warden's a pretty scary enemy, but as long as we run up and to the left and strafe him, we don't. You guys can actually roll this enemy if you guys want. It's pretty safe just to run by on the left. He does have 3 different attacks he can do. I'm going to show you guys every one of them. But you guys also need to be wary of the RNG that these hollows can give. They just walk around aimlessly. And there's no true set pattern to them, so it's sometimes they can actually body block an interesting way in combination with the Grave Warden that you guys should be wary of. Very unlikely that the body block will happen, but it is something to be wary of. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys these 3 different situations. We're going to proceed to the left. Now you guys can also roll that attack if you like, but as you can see, it's easily strafable. Up and to the left. And we get the jump this time. Again, easily strafable. Feel free to roll, but not too big of a deal. Now that attack is his scariest one. Again, with a well-timed roll, easily dodgeable. However, I'm going to show you guys one more thing. So you'll see what I did there is a tight 360, and what the 360 does is causes the Grave Warden to lose tracking. It's very consistent and is what I prefer over rolling. And so moving past this area here with the Grave Warden, we are going to continue up the next set of stairs to the next part of the cathedral. Not too much to do here other than just manage your stamina, know that there is a Grave Warden chasing you from behind, so you never want to stop moving. Now this part upcoming is very complex, and we're going to take a look at it in a really deep analysis. So the Cathedral Rooftop is one of the most precise running sections of the entire game. Once we reach this staircase, we need to ensure that we have full stamina for the upcoming part. What I like to do is descend down this rooftop here, and we're going to be met with 3 archers in this little courtyard. We're going to time our sprint, and we're going to recover stamina about halfway down this ledge, right as we strafe this guy's crossbolt to the left. So we're going to visually see a crossbolt from behind, and when I see that crossbolt from behind, I like to recover my stamina a bit. Then we're going to come down here, And we are going to run through the middle here, past this man, and jump over across onto this railing. This is actually the only required jump in the whole run for the Hitless run. So maybe you guys would like to practice this part a little bit on yourself just to get more comfortable with jumping, because the game does not really force us to jump a whole lot. I feel like giving you guys a visual here is going to do a lot more than me just explaining where I'm going to be recovering stamina. But I do assure you guys it's all very important to follow exactly where I stop, exactly where to recover stamina. Because once we make this jump over to this rooftop over here and go up the rafters, there's a lot of audio cues that I like to listen for, and I'm going to explain those once I show you guys this part here, just so that you guys don't get an information overload. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this part. So again, we're going to be very, very cautious here. We're going to sprint, strafe these arrows, and recover stamina. Go straight up the middle to strafe all of those, and jump across. After evading the bolts shot at you from these three mobs and make the jump across here, we want to ascend to the rooftop. Now, while ascending to the rooftop, it is advised that you guys do not go back and forth or left and right while going up this ascension right here. Very important that you want to keep a straight cardinal direction while going up. That will ensure that you guys strafe all bolts coming from behind shot by these mobs. Another thing to point out, when the character approaches these mobs for the first time while making their jump across, these mobs have a tendency to sometimes default away from their default locations and reposition. If a reposition takes place, be wary that the angle in which the bolts come from towards the player while they're ascending here is going to be different. So it might be a little different from what you guys see normally. So that's something to keep in mind. So as long as you hold your cardinal direction while ascending to the rooftop here, we will strafe all the bolts coming from behind. However, we do need to make a right turn whenever we get onto said rooftop, which goes against our rule of holding a cardinal direction. So what you guys will need to take advantage of is sound cues. Sound cues in this game are very important, and if you listen, you guys can actually hear crossbow bolts being fired. It's very audible, very easy to detect, and you guys will need to listen for it when you guys make this right turn up here on the roof. A lot of the time it'll be fine, you won't even get shot at. Sometimes you will need to make a couple rolls. I'd suggest rolling once or twice if you hear any bolts coming from behind. Finally, while ascending up this staircase, I would advise you guys not to run and just hold a steady jog. Doing so will bait out bolts from these mobs early, allowing us to strafe them automatically by holding our cardinal direction, making it less of a chance that they will shoot again while we have to make our dangerous right turn. So that's a very important thing I'd like to point out. You definitely don't want to go up this too quickly, because you will strafe the bolts if you are even jogging. It's very nice. You don't have to actually sprint up this. Once we actually hit the rooftop, however, I'm going to showcase a couple different strategies depending on the route that you guys are taking for your no-hit run. There are better strategies if you have a lot of damage, and there are strategies if you have almost no damage. We're going to showcase both, so let's take a look and see what that looks like. The first strategy we're going to showcase is the jump down from the roof. This strategy is very, very useful for low damage runs, as we do not have to kill any of the mobs below. This strategy requires 2 skulls. You can get away with 1 skull, however, I would very, very, very much recommend using 2. I'm going to be showcasing 2 skulls in this strategy. The only thing we need to be wary of are enemies chasing us from behind. Now, there is a thrall that can jump, that will fall down, and he is right here once we reach the top of the roof. Once we reach the top of the roof, this thrall will trigger and potentially, very rarely, shoot a dart at the player. A dart is his most lethal thing, as he can't catch you as long as you keep sprinting. If he does shoot a dart, however, it can hit the player, and it is very important that we turn the camera around while on the roof to see if that dart does take place. Also, while running along the roof, cardinal direction is very important once again because of said crossbow bolts from the enemies in the previous area here. It's very important to even sometimes hold a more of an arc along this rooftop, more of an arced motion than a cardinal line, because it will be easier to strafe any bolts coming from behind here. After evading all the bolts in the back, the thralls chasing us, we are going to make a jump down to the lower platform. That's very important that we do not get stuck on this wall as we try to jump. Very important not to touch this wall whatsoever. If you jump into a wall in Dark Souls 3, you don't glide against it. It pretty much just stops your progress right there, and you will not make this jump and fall to the ground below here. Not a good drop to take. That is a very, very, very steep fall. So you're going to actually want to run from an angle here and ensure, again, not to touch this pillar whatsoever when you guys make your jump. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what this jump looks like in real time, of course. But just to give you guys a little frame of reference, you definitely want to jump about right here so that we clear this railing and land down here. Upon making the jump down from the rooftop, we are going to be met with a plateau with Grave Warden walking around it aimlessly. Now, there is a second Grave Warden here that normally is going to be walking down this staircase where these mobs are currently walking down. The only reason these mobs are currently walking down here is because I've went ahead, gotten too close here with my character to start the walking paths. That's so that I could show you guys this room with free aim camera. It was weird. I was up here trying to do the exact same thing, but I was getting a lot of glitched textures down here, so I actually had to come down here. So I'm gonna have to show you guys this part with the AI not normally where they're normally located. Normally, you guys will only see one of these Grave Wardens here circling around aimlessly. Ignore the second one as well as these two mobs. These two mobs will be, for later, a different story that we cover up here a little bit further. For now, that's just a little bit of a frame of reference to if you guys were wondering why you guys see these mobs walking around. Anyway, let's go ahead with the strategy. After we jump down here, we are going to ensure that the aimlessly walking around Grave Warden is not too close to the middle of this arena. He is mostly, for the most part, going to stick to that back corner where he is now, but there is a chance that he can get close enough over here to see us when we initially enter into this room. We're going to be very wary that that does not happen, and if it does happen, you guys might need to even dodge an attack before throwing this first alluring skull. Very consistent strat, though, but that is something to look out for. What is going to happen is you guys are going to want to throw your first alluring skull. Does not really matter as much as the second one does. I like to aim it in the back here behind this statue. Your character can actually go in behind here. I like to throw the skull in the back there, my first skull. That's going to aggro the first warden. And what the player is then going to do is walk over to this staircase where the second warden will be descending down to. We're going to throw a second alluring skull very quickly at this point of the wall, the deepest point of the wall, so that this warden will see it immediately or as fast as possible. Very important that you guys don't throw the second skull at this statue or like this pillar. It definitely is very, very crucial that you guys throw it at this back wall right here for this strat to be consistent. Also, when the character turns this corner, it's very important that the character looks up into the sky, because there's a very, very good chance that the Grave Warden is going to get deloaded and fall from the sky, kind of like what you guys would see from dogs from DS3. And that is the fast strat for low damage. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what it looks like from start to finish here, and yeah, let's take a peek. So we have the alluring skulls at the ready. Very important to have full health here as well. I like to turn the camera here, take a look at the thrall. No dart. I'm going to go ahead and make the jump. Very, very clean here. We're going to take an L1 on this enemy and go to the door, using the iframes to block against these exploding enemies. going to take another moment here to state the importance of L1ing this mob right here. This mob will stand up while going to the door. Sometimes he won't combust. So it's important to manage your stamina up the staircase here so that you have enough time to do a standing L1 or even a running attack, depending on your damage, before going to the door. Very important. So the strategy we are about to utilize requires a little more damage than what we have on our route. The upside to it is it does save one alluring skull. So we're going to jump down to this roof. We're going to take a very, very harsh angle on our plunge attack here. Now, the reason you want to take a very harsh angle on your plunge is to ensure you don't land on the railing. Landing on the railing will negate your plunge attack. Very important to take a harsh angle while falling. At this point, you want to ensure that these mobs are not looking at you. Run around this post, kill this guy, and you're safe. There's a very, very small chance a thrall can follow you at this point, which is why I prefer, personally, the first strat I'm showing. If the thrall follows you down here, you will have to fight it. You know, it's kind of a small area and thralls are messy, so again, this strat saves a skull, but it does come at a risk of a thrall dropping down here with you. We're going to proceed up this staircase to this pillar. Once we make connection here to this pillar, it's going to start the AI pathing of enemies in the next area. This is how we're going to save a skull. At this point, we are simply waiting for the mobs in the next area to make their way down the staircase to this plateau. And they are all going to congregate here in the middle. We're going to throw one alluring skull as opposed to two and go up to the door. When you guys throw your alluring skull, I would highly recommend throwing it here to the left as opposed out there to the right. The reason is whenever this skull is done, the AI will have a line of sight of you running up the stairs, and there's a chance that these Grave Wardens can follow you. Throwing a skull up against this wall is going to put walls in between you and the enemy, breaking line of sight, which is very important. So that's my biggest recommendation for this area. Okay, we see the congregation happening now. We're going to make sure that these Grave Wardens aren't looking at us before we come out from our safety pillar. Once they're at a decent spot, I'm going to pop out and throw our skull. From here, we're simply just going to run up the staircase. Being very, very, very important to kill this mob here. So that's how you can save a skull for this area. After we open up the cathedral door, we are going to wake up this giant from below. We're going to throw a firebomb here to wake him up. Once we've waken him up, we're going to stand at an appropriate distance away so that he can start attacking us. Now, for the visual cues that I like to go to look for is this carpet. I like to make sure that whenever his attack ends, the player, get to this crease in the carpet right here. So that will bait out another attack. The safety spot is this wrinkle in the carpet. As long as the player gets behind this wrinkle, this crease in the floor, you're safe from all AoE explosion damage. Using this bit of information, we can make quick work of the giant. After the giant's defeat, we proceed down the hallway here. We're going to be met with 3 deacons in a room. We're going to sprint at the one on the far left. The only thing he can do is this fireball attack, which we time with a roll and keep moving. We're going to grab this elevator and open up the bonfire room, because we're going to sit down at it and make sure that we have fire bombs and items for the upcoming area. Very important for this upcoming area, we have some fire bombs as well as your homeward bones. After restocking at the bonfire, we're met with a running section. This running section does not have too many enemies or instances to deal with. We're basically just going to be running through the cathedral. There's going to be a couple things we pick up, a couple enemies to dodge, but overall nothing too risky here as far as we need to incorporate strat-wise. Okay, we're going to have a mob patrolling here, which we can sneak up on and do a running attack. Before he can do anything while he's turning around, he meets his demise. The only item we need here is the Lloyd's sword ring, arguably the best ring in the game. We're going to go ahead and equip that immediately, giving us 10% more damage overall. We're going to be shot at by a bolt directly in front of us here. We're simply going to move out of the way, and that is the only attack that we have to deal with here. Descending down these stairs, we keep moving. We're going to cast Spook and jump down here, continue on. Don't want to stop here as there is enemies patrolling and coming into the arena, or sorry, into the area. I'm going to take a right and go across this water here. We're going to lock onto a thrall hanging onto this wall up here with a firebomb. We're going to throw one. He's going to drop. We're going to approach and finish him off with an L1. We're then going to proceed through this door and down these stairs. We're going to open this door. We're going to open another door and take an elevator up. And all we're doing right now is going to get Patches. Patches is an NPC who obviously we need for all hitless runs because he sells the player alluring skulls. We want to obtain him as early as possible. We're going to be met with a cross bolt enemy up here. We can simply walk up to an L1, not a big deal. Gonna walk on this ledge, very careful not to fall off. Climb this ladder. We're going to be met with a non-hostile NPC at the top here. We can simply ignore him. We're going to have a homeward bone equipped. And we're simply going to drop down here onto this ledge and sprint to the alcove and homeward bone. Doing so will unlock Patches at the shrine. Depending on your routing, at this point we can go and purchase the tower key, or you guys can wait until later, depending again on your routing. We still have a 5 alluring skull stack, so we still have plenty of skulls for deacons. We personally do not need to upgrade with Patches, or sorry, to unlock Patches at this time. But just for the video's sake, we're going to go ahead and show you guys how to unlock Patches. You're going to buy the tower key from the handmaiden. The tower key unlocks this door, and we're going to proceed up the staircase. Make sure you guys have a homeward bone for this part as well. I'm going to proceed through the gate and hop on the elevator. Once the elevator goes up a distance, you will hear the gate shut, which is your sign to homeward bone. This unlocks Patches and gives you guys, the players, an unlimited amount of alluring skulls for purchase. And you can get them this early in the game, which is very, very useful. However, we have enough skulls, and we're going to go back to the cathedral. Upon returning to the cathedral and heading towards the Deacons fight, the only things you guys are going to need for Deacons are buffs and skulls. At this point, you guys should have plenty of buffs and alluring skulls. The path to Deacons can be a little tricky. I'm going to show you guys, in my opinion, the best way to go about it. To keep it as consistent as possible, I'd recommend not stalling in this area and take the exact same pathing every single time. This will create consistency on a global timer that is happening in this area. The global timer that we're worried about is of the slugs crawling around in the sludge down below. The slugs are RNG as well, the way that they crawl around. It's never consistent. However, they could sometimes be relatively in the same spot every single time if you approach the same. It's not going to be identical every single time, but it's good for consistency that you guys don't see something weird. So again, we're going to cast Spook here and fall down. Going to make sure that we have our rings equipped, which we do. We're going to equip a dagger. We're going to put on our stamina ring here, or sorry, our stamina shield. two-hand the dagger, and we're going to abuse the weapon art to get through the sludge. Now, what I like to do is wait until the giant stands up before I get underneath him. What that's going to do is bait out a front attack, and then using the weapon's dagger art, it allows us to get a lot more freedom to move around past him. I like getting the giant as far away from the slugs as possible. You can safely stand here if you guys need to adjust rings, heal, do anything. This is the safe spot right here. We are pretty much ready at this point to go to the deacons. And we're going to do just that. We're going to wait until we see these two deacons in a decent location, and we're going to go. Very important to watch these deacons so that they don't shoot fireballs at you. Just like that guy tried to right now. Look at that there. That was a pretty good show of what can happen if you're not paying attention. Now, as long as you guys don't sprint up this staircase to the right, this enemy, this Cathedral Knight, will not hear you. So it's very important that you guys just simply walk up this staircase as opposed to sprint. Even rolling's okay. Just do not sprint. And yeah, you guys are safe from this point to go all the way to Deacons. And that is the Cathedral running section. I hope it helped you guys.